For months, the world could only guess what really happened that night. Rumors, theories, and whispers filled the void, but no one who was actually there ever spoke. Until now, out of the silence, a single voice has emerged. A voice that changes everything. Charlie Kirk's personal bodyguard, the man who stood beside him in his final moments, has finally broken his silence. And what he revealed isn't just heartbreaking, it's terrifying. He didn't come forward for fame, or money, or politics. His words carried the weight of fear, the kind that comes from knowing too much. In a quiet, trembling voice, he said, "What I saw that night still keeps me awake." Just 8 words, but they sent shockwaves through every corner of the internet. People had theories, but no one expected this. What he described wasn't random, and it wasn't accidental. There were details that were never made public. Movements that didn't match the official story, and a sense that something or someone was being hidden. And now, for the first time, the man closest to the truth is ready to speak. This isn't rumor anymore. This isn't speculation. This is eyewitness truth. It was supposed to be an ordinary night, a quiet event, a few close staffers, a private drive home. But something about that evening felt different, at least. That's how the bodyguard remembers it now. The air was heavy. The schedule suddenly changed. And for reasons no one could quite explain, Charlie Kirk insisted on leaving earlier than planned. The convoy pulled out under flickering streetlights, rain misting across the windshield, the kind of weather that turns every reflection into a blur. According to witnesses, there were small details that didn't make sense even then. Unmarked cars idling too long near the exit, unfamiliar faces hovering near the venue gates, phone calls answered in whispers, security cameras that should have been recording mysteriously went dark. Inside the car, the mood was tense but quiet. Charlie scrolled through messages while the bodyguard kept his eyes on the mirrors. He later said it felt as if someone was watching them. Minutes later, everything changed. A sudden flash, a sound that no one can agree on. Some called it a pop, others a crash. The bodyguard remembers the chaos that followed. People shouting, lights everywhere, confusion turning into panic. And then silence, the kind that only comes after something irreversible. In the days that followed, official reports offered neat explanations: malfunction, accident, timing. But those who were there never truly believed it, and the man closest to the scene, the one sworn to protect, was ordered not to speak. For months, he kept that promise. Until now, because what he saw that night doesn't match the story the world was told, and as he begins to recount it, the cracks in the official version start to widen, revealing a truth far darker than anyone imagined. For months, he said nothing, not to the press, not to investigators, not even to people close to Charlie's circle. The man sworn to protect him vanished from the spotlight, a silent shadow carrying secrets too dangerous to speak. Until one night, out of nowhere, his voice surfaced. No camera, no face, just a recording, a trembling confession uploaded anonymously to an underground podcast channel. The clip began with static, then a heavy breath, a pause, and finally, the voice, deep, tired, and haunted. "I don't know if I should be doing this," he said, "but people need to know what really happened that night." He went on to describe things no report had ever mentioned. Moments before the chaos, he said Charlie received a phone call that changed his demeanor completely. He looked worried, the bodyguard recalled. "He told me to keep the engine running, that he'd only be a minute." But that minute turned into confusion. The guard noticed 2 unfamiliar figures near the parking exit, one pacing, one watching. They weren't on the guest list. When he tried to approach, someone stepped in his path, showing credentials he'd never seen before. That was the last normal moment of the night. Then came the flash, bright, blinding, impossible to explain. The car alarm went off, shouts erupted, and in seconds, the scene descended into chaos. "I reached for him," the bodyguard said, his voice cracking, but he wasn't responding. "And then someone yelled, 'Get him out of here,' but I didn't recognize the voice." He claimed that within minutes, new people arrived, not police, not medics, just suits. They took control, ordered everyone to stand down, and confiscated security footage before investigators even arrived. "They told us it was for national security," he said, "but it felt like something else, something they didn't want anyone to see." As the podcast clip continued, you could hear the bodyguard's voice shaking with guilt and fear. He admitted that he'd been pressured to stay silent, threatened. "Even, they told me if I talked, I'd lose everything, my job, my pension, my safety." But after months of sleepless nights, he couldn't keep it in any longer. "I've replayed that night 1,000 times, he whispered. "And every time, I see something I missed. Someone I didn't recognize. A face in the shadows. When the recording ended, the internet erupted. People demanded the full tape, claiming the version online had been edited or shortened. But what little was released was enough to ignite an inferno of speculation. Because now, for the first time, someone who was actually there was saying out loud what everyone had only dared to think. That Charlie Kirk's death wasn't an accident at all. When the full interview finally leaked, it sent chills through anyone who heard it. Because this wasn't just a man sharing grief, it was a man revealing pieces of a story that had been buried. The bodyguard's words painted a picture that didn't match the official timeline, didn't align with police statements, and raised more questions than anyone could answer. He described how, earlier that evening, Charlie had received multiple calls from an unknown number. Each time, he'd step away, voice low, glancing around like someone was watching him. He looked nervous, the bodyguard said, like something wasn't right. At one point, Charlie reportedly muttered, "They know," before forcing a smile and telling his team everything was fine. Then there were the cars. The bodyguard swore he saw a black SUV following them from the event. No plates. Tinted windows, keeping distance but never disappearing. "I've done protection work for over a decade," he said. "You can feel when you're being tailed." And that night, I felt it. But the most disturbing part came next. Moments after the flash, the one that everyone assumed was a lighting malfunction, he said the street cameras went dark. Every one of them. "That doesn't happen by accident," he said flatly. "Someone killed the feeds." He also claimed that within 10 minutes, new agents appeared, not part of their team, not local police. They ordered him to hand over his phone, his weapon, even his earpiece. When he refused, one of them leaned in and said, "You didn't see anything. Do you understand?" He remembered the look in their eyes. Calm, cold, professional. "They weren't there to help," he said quietly. "They were there to clean up." The bodyguard insisted that key evidence, dashcam footage, security logs, digital timestamps had all been wiped within hours. Someone had access, he explained. Someone powerful. He claimed that when he later requested his own security report from that night, it was missing 6 pages that should have detailed who entered and left the site. And perhaps the most haunting revelation of all came near the end of the confession. His voice lowered to a whisper when he said, he wasn't supposed to be there that night. The event wasn't even on the official schedule. Someone called him, told him to come, and now he's gone. The interview cut off abruptly after that. No sign-off, no conclusion, just static. But that single statement sparked thousands of theories online. Who called Charlie Kirk that night? What did he know that made him a target? And why, after all this time, does it feel like someone still doesn't want those answers found? Because according to the only man who truly knows what happened, what we were told is only half the story. When the bodyguard's recording hit the public, the internet did what it always does, it exploded. Within minutes, #CharlieKirkTruth and #BodyguardConfession were everywhere. Clips from the anonymous interview flooded feeds. Reaction channels went live, and comment sections became digital battlegrounds. Some people said they finally felt vindicated, that their suspicions about Charlie's death had been confirmed. Others called the story irresponsible, a dangerous rumor designed to undermine the truth. TikTokers looped his most chilling line, "He wasn't supposed to be there that night." Each edit made it sound even more ominous. Podcasters began streaming live breakdowns, analyzing the audio for clues. Was it really him? Was the voice altered? Was this a cover-up or a setup? Twitter X erupted with threads claiming to have inside sources. And YouTubers raced to upload videos titled "The Bodyguard Speaks the Truth" they tried to hide. News outlets tried to keep up, issuing fact-check statements within hours. Some experts claimed the audio metadata was authentic, others insisted it was a. Every attempt to debunk it only made people hungrier for answers. And when a few accounts sharing the clip suddenly went dark, videos deleted, profiles vanished, the conspiracy deepened. "Someone's cleaning house," users posted. "Someone doesn't want this out." Even Erica Kirk's name trended again. People asked where she was when the bodyguard spoke, what she knew, and why she had never addressed that night directly. Her team remained silent, but the speculation only grew. Every old photo, every public appearance was being re-examined for hidden signs. What had started as a whisper was now a digital inferno, and in the center of it all was a single terrified voice, a man claiming to have seen something he was never supposed to see. His words were now bigger than him, bigger than the truth itself, because once the internet smells secrets, it never lets go. After the leak, The internet became an open investigation. Everyone from journalists to conspiracy vloggers started piecing together the puzzle, connecting dots that didn't seem random anymore. Theories spread like wildfire, each one darker and more elaborate than the last. But 3 stood out, the ones that refused to die, because deep down, they all felt possible. The first theory was the inside job. According to online analysts and former insiders, Charlie's downfall began long before that night. They claimed there were growing tensions within his inner circle, power struggles, secret deals, people he trusted turning distant. The bodyguard's words about unfamiliar faces near the exit seemed to confirm what some already believed. Someone close to him might have coordinated what happened. The unmarked cars, the missing footage, the fast cleanup, all of it suggested precision. Not coincidence. Then came Theory 2, the political setup. This one spread fastest. Commentators argued that Charlie's influence had grown too strong, too unpredictable. He was outspoken, powerful, and not afraid to clash with the very people funding his empire. They said his accident wasn't random, it was a silencing operation. Threads appeared, showing patterns. Other controversial figures who vanished under mysterious circumstances. The bodyguards claim that agents arrived before the police only added fuel to the fire. He was silenced before he could speak. One viral post read, "And now the truth is being buried with him." But the third theory was perhaps the most chilling, the cover-up gone wrong. This one didn't claim murder or conspiracy. Instead, it painted a picture of chaos. Something unexpected happened that night. Something scandalous, maybe even embarrassing. And those in charge chose to rewrite the story rather than tell the truth. The bodyguard's missing report pages, the blacked-out footage, the mysterious phone call, all pointed to a cover-up meant to protect reputations, not justice. They didn't plan it. One blogger wrote, "They just couldn't afford the truth." As these theories grew, so did the fear that maybe, just maybe, the bodyguard wasn't safe. His last message on a small forum read only 6 words. "They told me not to talk again." After that, silence, his account deleted. The post gone. And that silence said more than any confession ever could. Because whether it was an inside job, a political hit, or a cover-up that spiraled out of control, one thing was certain. Someone knew exactly what happened to Charlie Kirk that night, and they were determined to make sure the rest of the world never would. When the story reached its peak, the silence from official channels became deafening. The organizations connected to Charlie Kirk released short, polished statements, each one colder than the last. "We are aware of the circulating misinformation," one spokesperson wrote. "Out of respect for the family and ongoing investigations, we will not be commenting further." It was the kind of message meant to calm the public, but it had the opposite effect. Within hours, people started noticing small details that didn't feel like coincidence. Erica Kirk's name was quietly removed from event lists. A few Turning Point USA web pages vanished. Podcasts that had once featured Charlie's voice suddenly disappeared from archives. Every deletion only deepened the suspicion that someone was scrubbing history clean. Then came the bodyguard's disappearance. The account that had posted his confession was deleted. The podcast host who uploaded it claimed he was contacted and told to take it down. A few journalists who tried to follow up received cease and desist letters within days. One even tweeted, "Something about this story doesn't feel safe," before wiping his entire feed. Meanwhile, Erica Kirk released one brief message on her social media: "Please stop spreading things that hurt people who are already hurting." That was it? No denial. No clarification. Just 12 words that left more questions than answers. Behind the scenes, insiders described the atmosphere as frantic. Staff were told to keep statements consistent. Lawyers drafted and a quiet PR campaign began reframing the narrative, turning it from suspicious death into tragic accident. But the internet doesn't forget. Every attempt at damage control made the story feel more dangerous. Every silence sounded like guilt. People began to realize something larger was happening, something that extended beyond one night, one tragedy, one man. Because when truth threatens power, the first thing to disappear is the truth-teller. And just like that, the story shifted from scandal to cover-up. Months have passed, yet the questions refuse to fade. The story of Charlie Kirk's final night still drifts through comments sections, podcasts, and quiet corners of the internet like a ghost that won't rest. Every few weeks, a new thread surfaces. Someone claiming to have heard from the missing bodyguard. Someone else saying they've seen the deleted footage. None of it ever confirmed, but none of it ever disproved. Erica Kirk remains silent. She's retreated from the spotlight entirely. No new interviews, no public appearances, no responses. Her once busy social feeds are frozen in time. The last post, still reading, "Please let us grieve." Some people call it dignity, others call it distance. But no matter the interpretation, her silence keeps the mystery alive. The bodyguard's name, still unknown to the public, has become legend in online circles. The man who saw too much. Some claim he's in hiding, others think he was silenced. A few say he's still out there, waiting for the right moment to speak again. His last known words, "It wasn't an accident," have become the story's heartbeat, echoing through every discussion, every theory, every whispered doubt. Mainstream media has moved on, labeling it unsubstantiated speculation. But the public hasn't. The holes in the official story are too wide to ignore the lost footage, the conflicting reports, the unknown personnel who arrived before authorities. They're fragments of a puzzle that never fit together, and every attempt to hide them only made people look closer. And that's the truth about stories like this. They never really end. They fade, resurface, evolve, and live on through the people who refuse to forget. Charlie Kirk's legacy, once defined by his voice and influence, now lives in the questions left behind. Was it an accident, a cover-up, or something far more deliberate? Maybe one day, the world will know, but until then, the truth remains buried, somewhere between what was seen, what was said, and what someone was willing to silence forever. Subscribe, like, and turn on notifications because this story isn't over, and the truth always finds a way back to the light.